November 14th, 3:47 a.m., the heating system in apartment 4B stopped working. That's when Sarah Chen heard it, a voice singing a lullaby coming from inside her walls. But Sarah lived alone, and the building had been empty for 3 days. The cold came early that November, and so did the screams. Few people talk about what really happens when November settles in, when the darkness comes earlier each day, when the cold doesn't just touch your skin, it crawls beneath it, when the veil between what we know and what we fear grows thin as frost on glass. These are not urban legends passed around campfires. These are documented accounts, recorded testimonies, real experiences from real people who lived through November nights that changed them forever. 9 stories, 9 witnesses, 9 reasons to keep your lights on when the temperature drops. The first story takes us to Portland, Maine, November 2nd, 2019. Sarah Chen had just moved into the Riverside Apartments, a historic building, beautiful, exposed brick, high ceilings, hardwood floors that creaked with character, the landlord had said. The rent was impossibly cheap for downtown. Red flag number 1. But Sarah was a graduate student. She couldn't afford to be picky. The apartment was on the 4th floor, corner unit. Windows facing the river and the street. Maximum natural light, the listing had promised. What it didn't mention was that natural light dies early in November. By 4:30 p.m., the apartment was already drowning in shadows. The heating had been inconsistent since day 1. Some rooms blazed, others stayed cold, no matter what. The landlord said it was an old building. These things happen. He'd send someone, eventually. November 14th was the night everything changed. Sarah woke at 3:47 a.m. Not naturally. Something had pulled her from sleep. A sound, faint, rhythmic, musical. She lay there in the darkness, her breath forming small clouds in the freezing air. The heating had stopped completely. The apartment was an ice box, and then she heard it clearly. Someone was singing, a woman's voice, soft, melodic, singing a lullaby Sarah didn't recognize. The words were unclear, muffled, as if coming from very far away or from inside something. Sarah sat up slowly. The singing continued. She reached for her phone. The screen light felt obscene in the darkness. 3:49 a.m. She turned on her bedside lamp. The singing stopped immediately. Silence rushed in like water filling a void. Sarah waited. 5 minutes. 10. Nothing. She convinced herself it had been a dream or a neighbor. Sound traveled strangely in old buildings. She turned off the lamp, lay back down, pulled the covers tight. The cold pressed against her like a living thing. The singing started again, closer this time, much closer. Sarah's heart began to hammer. The sound wasn't coming from another apartment. It was coming from inside her bedroom, from the wall behind her headboard. She grabbed her phone again, turned on the flashlight, aimed it at the wall. The singing continued, unbothered, uninterrupted, a lullaby for someone who would never wake. Sarah stood up, approached the wall. The singing grew louder with each step. She pressed her ear against the cold plaster and felt it. Vibration, as if someone on the other side was singing directly into the wall, but there was no other side. This was an exterior wall, facing the street, 4 stories up, nothing but November air and darkness beyond. Sarah jerked back. The singing stopped again. This time it didn't return, but something else did. Scratching, soft at first, then insistent, like fingernails on plaster. From inside the wall, moving, traveling horizontally across the surface, following her as she backed away. Sarah didn't sleep that night. When morning came, gray and unwelcoming, she called the landlord. He sounded annoyed. Old pipes, he said, radiators settling, buildings make noise, but Sarah insisted. She'd heard singing. She'd felt something in the wall. The landlord sighed. He'd send the building maintenance guy. Maybe, if he had time. 3 days later, nobody had come, but the singing returned every night. 3:47 a.m. Always the same time. Always the same lullaby. Always from inside the walls. Sarah started researching the building's history. The Riverside Apartments had been constructed in 1924, but before that, the lot had held something else. The records were unclear. Fragments, whispers in municipal archives, an asylum, a home for unwed mothers, a boarding house. The stories contradicted each other, but one detail appeared repeatedly. A fire, November 15th, 1921. 7 people died, including a woman and her infant child. Room 4, the same room that was now Sarah's apartment. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because here, every story leaves a different shadow on those who listen, and November has 8 more shadows to cast. Sarah tried to ignore it. She bought noise-canceling headphones, slept with music playing, but every night at 3:47 she would wake. The headphones would be silent. The music stopped, and the singing would seep through anyway. It wasn't a sound you could block out. It was a sound that found you. That November, Sarah lost 14 pounds. Her professors noticed the dark circles under her eyes. Her friends stopped getting responses to their texts. She was unraveling, thread by thread. November 28th, Sarah woke at 3:47 a.m. to the singing. But this time, something was different. The voice was inside her room, not in the walls, in the room, with her. She opened her eyes slowly, afraid of what she might see. The corner by her closet was darker than it should be. Darkness that moved, that breathed, that sang. Sarah couldn't move, couldn't scream, could only listen as the lullaby wrapped around her like frozen fingers. And then it spoke, not singing anymore, speaking. A woman's voice, cracked, desperate, saying the same thing over and over. Find her, find her, find her. The darkness rushed forward. Sarah felt cold pour over her like water, and then nothing. She woke up on her bedroom floor. 6:23 a.m. Frost covered the inside of her windows. Her breath came out in ragged clouds, and on the wall behind her headboard, scratched into the plaster coordinates, latitude and longitude. Sarah's hands shook as she entered them into her phone. They pointed to a location 3 miles away, the old Riverside Cemetery. Section 12, Unmarked Graves, the Potter's Field. Sarah went that afternoon. The cemetery was overgrown, forgotten. Section 12 was barely recognizable as a burial ground, just depression in the earth, scattered stones, no names, no dates. But when Sarah stood at the coordinates, she felt it, the same cold, the same presence. She knelt down, started digging with her hands. The earth was soft despite the season. 6 inches down, her fingers touched something, fabric, rotted, ancient, and wrapped in that fabric, small bones, so small, infant small. Sarah called the police. They came. They excavated. They found the remains of a woman and a child. No identification, no records. But the coroner estimated they'd been there since the early 1920s. The remains were given a proper burial, a real grave, a marked stone. And that night, for the first time since November 2nd, Sarah slept through 3:47 a.m. The singing never came back. But sometimes, on very cold November nights, she still feels watched, still feels that presence just watching now, no longer desperate, no longer searching, just grateful. The second story comes from a small town in Vermont, population 3,200, where everyone knows everyone, and secrets don't stay buried long, except this one. Marcus Webb was a park ranger. He'd worked the Green Mountain trails for 12 years. He knew every path, every shelter, every dangerous drop and hidden cave. November was his favorite month. The tourists were gone. The woods belonged to him and the animals again. The silence was pure, undisturbed, until November 9th, 2021, when Marcus found the cabin that shouldn't exist. He'd been checking the northern trail markers. A storm was coming. He needed to make sure the signs were secure. The trail led through dense forest, pine and birch. The afternoon light filtered through in pale shafts. Beautiful, peaceful. Then Marcus saw it, about 30 yards off the trail. A cabin, small, rustic, completely unlisted on any park map. He frowned. This was protected land. No private structures allowed. Someone had built this illegally. Marcus approached slowly. The cabin looked old, but maintained. Fresh wood on the porch, clean windows, a thin line of smoke rising from a stone chimney. Someone was inside, living here, on federal land. Marcus knocked on the door. No answer. He knocked again, harder. The door swung open under his knuckles. It hadn't been latched. Inside was dark, cold, despite the smoking chimney. Marcus called out, "Park Ranger! Anyone home?" His voice echoed strangely, too large for the small space. He stepped inside. The cabin was one room, a bed in the corner, a table, 2 chairs, a wood stove with fresh logs burning, but the cold remained, unnatural, oppressive, and the smell. Marcus covered his nose, like meat left out too long, like something rotting in the walls. He turned to leave. "Report this. Get back up." That's when he saw the photographs, dozens of them, tacked to every wall, all of the same woman. Different ages, different decades based on the photo quality, but the same woman, standing in the same spot, in front of the same cabin, this cabin. In every photo, she wore a white dress, and in every photo, she wasn't smiling. She was screaming. Marcus stumbled backward. His boot hit something. He looked down. A trapdoor built into the floor with a padlock, shiny, new. Marcus should have left, should have run, but 12 years of training kicked in. If someone was in danger, if someone needed help, he grabbed a fire poker from beside the stove, pried the lock off. The trapdoor opened with a groan. Darkness below, and that smell, stronger now, overwhelming. Marcus turned on his flashlight, pointed it down. Steps leading into the earth, rough-hewn, descending into a cellar that looked older than the cabin itself. Marcus descended. 1 step, 2, 5. The temperature dropped with each footfall. His breath fogged. The beam of his flashlight swept across stone walls, across a dirt floor, across chains bolted into the foundation, empty chains, and then across something else in the corner, piled, stacked, clothes, old clothes, dresses, white dresses, dozens of them, different sizes, different styles, spanning decades, all stained, all torn, all empty. Marcus heard the trapdoor slam shut above him. He ran up the steps, pushed. It wouldn't budge. Something was on top of it, something heavy. He pounded, shouted. His radio crackled with static. No signal underground. The flashlight beam flickered. Marcus forced himself to calm down. Think. There had to be another way out. Old cellars sometimes had exterior doors. He descended again, swept the light across every wall, and found it. A door. Wooden, swollen with age, and moisture. He threw his shoulder against it. Once, twice, it burst open. Cold air rushed in. Marcus stumbled out into the forest, but something was wrong. The light. It was darker, much darker. He checked his watch. 4:17 p.m. when he'd entered the cabin. His watch now read 11:43 p.m. Impossible. He'd been inside maybe 20 minutes. Marcus looked back at the cabin. The windows glowed with warm light, and inside, passing by the window, a figure, white dress, long dark hair, moving slowly, deliberately, searching. Marcus ran. He didn't stop until he reached his truck, didn't look back, drove straight to the ranger station. He returned the next morning with 4 other rangers and 2 state police officers. They followed Marcus's directions to the northern trail, 30 yards in, where the cabin should be, where the cabin had been. Nothing, no structure, no clearing, no disturbance in the forest floor. The other rangers exchanged glances. Marcus insisted. It was here, right here. They searched for 3 hours, found nothing. No cabin, no photos, no trapdoor, no cellar full of white dresses, just forest, undisturbed, ancient, as if nothing had ever been there. But Marcus knew what he'd seen, what he'd found. He started researching old newspapers, town records, historical society archives, and he found it. November 9th, 1897, exactly 124 years before his encounter. A woman named Catherine Mills had disappeared while picking mushrooms in the Green Mountains. She was 17, engaged to be married. She wore a white dress, her favorite. They never found her. The search lasted 3 weeks. Then winter came, and they had to stop. The case went cold, but the disappearances didn't stop. November 9th, 1923, another woman, white dress, Green Mountains, vanished. November 9th, 1951, same story. November 9th, 1979, November 9th, 2003, every 24 to 28 years, like clockwork. Always November 9th, always a woman in a white dress, always the Green Mountains, never found. Marcus checked the dates carefully. The pattern held, which meant the next one was due. November 9th, 2027, 6 years away. Marcus requested a transfer. He doesn't work the northern trails anymore. He doesn't hike in November. And he tells everyone who will listen, if you're in Vermont in November, if you see a cabin that looks out of place, if you see smoke rising from trees where no smoke should be, don't investigate, don't approach, just walk away, because some doors lead nowhere you want to go, and some places exist in the spaces between, waiting for November 9th. Always November 9th. Story 3 takes us to the Midwest, to a convenience store on the edge of farmland, where the night shift means something different, where being alone takes on a new meaning. This is what happened to Jenna Rodriguez, November 17th, 2018. The quick stop on Route 47 was the only thing open past midnight for 30 miles. Jenna had worked there for 8 months. Night shift, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. The pay was better, and she needed the money. Nursing school wasn't cheap. Most nights were quiet. The occasional trucker, local insomniacs buying cigarettes and energy drinks. By 2 a.m., the world outside faded to nothing. Just Jenna, the fluorescent lights, and the hum of refrigerator units. November 17th started like any other shift. Jenna restocked, cleaned, played music on her phone to fight the silence. The last customer left at 1:47 a.m., a trucker buying coffee and chips. After that, nothing, just the empty road, the dark fields, the stars. Jenna was organizing the candy aisle when the bell above the door chimed. She looked up. A woman stood in the entrance, late 30s maybe. Dark hair, pale skin, wearing a thin summer dress despite the November cold. No coat, no shoes. Her feet were bare and dirty. Jenna's first thought was drugs or mental illness. She'd been trained for this. Be polite, be careful, offer help. She smiled. "Can I help you?" The woman didn't respond, just walked slowly down the center aisle, her bare feet leaving wet prints on the linoleum. Not water. Too dark, too thick. Jenna watched her go. The woman stopped in front of the cold case, stared at the drinks, didn't move. Jenna waited. 30 seconds. A minute. "Ma'am, are you okay?" The woman turned, slowly. Her eyes were wrong, too wide, too dark, like pools of ink in a white face. She spoke. Her voice was wet, crackling, like words spoken through water. "I'm looking for my daughter. Have you seen her?" Jenna's throat went dry. "No, ma'am. I haven't seen anyone. Just you." The woman tilted her head, her neck bent at an angle that necks shouldn't bend. "She's small, 7 years old, blonde hair, blue dress. She was in the car. We were driving. And then," her voice trailed off. She looked down at her hands. They were shaking. No, not shaking. Twitching, spasming, like something beneath the skin was trying to get out. Jenna took a step back. Her hand moved toward the phone behind the counter, the panic button that connected directly to the sheriff. The woman looked up. "Don't." Her voice changed. Deeper. "Wrong. Please don't. I just need to find her. We were driving. It was raining. So much rain. I couldn't see. And then the lights, the headlights, coming so fast. And the sound." Tears ran down her face. Not clear. Dark. Leaving trails like ink on paper. The impact. The water. The cold water. So cold. Everything was cold. And I couldn't find her. I couldn't find my daughter. She looked at Jenna with those terrible eyes. "Please, have you seen her?" Jenna couldn't speak, couldn't move. The woman started walking toward her, each step leaving that dark, wet print. "I need to find her. She's scared. She's alone. She's waiting for me." The fluorescent lights began to flicker. The humming of the refrigerators grew louder, grinding, struggling, like machinery about to fail. The woman reached the counter, placed her hands on the surface. Her skin was gray, mottled, her fingers too long, too thin. Jenna finally found her voice. "Ma'am, I'm going to call someone to help you. I'm going to..." The lights went out. Complete darkness. Jenna heard breathing, right in front of her, on the other side of the counter, wet, labored, and that smell, like river water, like mud, like death. Something touched Jenna's hand, cold, soft, decomposing. She jerked back, screamed. The lights flickered on, off, on. The woman was gone. Jenna stood alone in the store, shaking. The wet footprints remained, leading from the door, down the aisle, to the counter, and then nothing. They stopped, as if the woman had simply vanished from that spot. Jenna hit the panic button. Sheriff arrived 20 minutes later. She told him everything. He listened, took notes, asked her the same questions 3 different ways. Then he showed her something on his phone. A news article, November 17th, 2007, exactly 11 years ago. A car accident on Route 47, less than a mile from the quick stop. Mother and daughter, driving home from a birthday party, hit a patch of black ice, lost control, went through the guardrail, into the creek. The car sank fast. The mother survived, swam to shore, went back for her daughter, couldn't find her. Rescue crews searched for 3 days, found the car, found the daughter, still strapped in her seatbelt, 7 years old, blonde hair, blue dress. The mother never recovered, spent 2 months in psychiatric care, released, moved away. No one heard from her again until 3 years later, November 17th, 2010. Her body was found on Route 47, same stretch of road. She'd walked into traffic, deliberate, Witnesses said she'd been standing on the shoulder, staring at the creek, then stepped out in front of a semi, dead on impact. The article included photos. Jenna looked at the woman's face and felt her blood turn to ice. It was her, the woman in the store. Exactly her. Jenna quit that night. The Quick Stop hired someone new, but 3 weeks later, that person quit too. Same story. Woman in a summer dress, bare feet, looking for her daughter. The store closed a year later. Too many employees refusing to work nights. It sits empty now. The window's dark, but locals say if you drive past on November 17th, right around 2 a.m., you might see lights on inside. And if you're foolish enough to stop, if you're foolish enough to go in, you might see her, still searching, still asking, still waiting for an answer that will never come. Have you seen my daughter? Have you seen her? Please, I need to find her. The fourth story brings us to a college campus, to student housing, where the walls are thin and the secrets are thinner. This happened to 3 roommates in Massachusetts, November 22nd, 2020, the week of Thanksgiving break. Most students had left for the holiday. The dorms were nearly empty, but Ashley Tran, Marcus Lee, and Devontae Williams had stayed behind. Ashley couldn't afford the flight home. Marcus was studying for medical school applications. Devontae just hated his family's Thanksgiving tradition. They had the 4th floor almost entirely to themselves, just them, and maybe 2 other students in a building designed for 80. The silence was unnerving. Their voices echoed in the hallways, footsteps carried from floors away. Every door closing sounded like a gunshot. November 22nd, they decided to watch movies, horror movies. Ironically, Marcus made popcorn. Ashley had smuggled in beer. Devontae set up his laptop. They were 3 films in when they heard it. Footsteps above them on the 5th floor. Heavy, deliberate, pacing back and forth. Ashley paused the movie. They all listened. The footsteps continued, heel toe, like someone walking the same pattern, again and again. Marcus frowned. I thought the 5th floor was closed for renovation. It is, Devontae said. Has been since October. No one's allowed up there. The footsteps continued, back and forth, back and forth. They tried to ignore it, restarted the movie, but the footsteps grew louder, more insistent, and then something else joined them, scraping, like furniture being dragged across the floor. Heavy furniture, slow, methodical. Ashley turned the volume down. What are they doing up there? Maybe it's maintenance, Marcus offered. At 10 p.m. on the Sunday before Thanksgiving. Devontae shook his head. No way. The footsteps stopped. The scraping stopped. Silence rushed back in. Ashley laughed nervously. Okay, that was creepy. They returned to their movie. At 11:34 p.m., it started again. But this time, it wasn't just footsteps. It was running. Someone was running full speed across the 5th floor, back and forth, then stopping suddenly, then running again, like they were being chased or chasing something. Ashley stood up. This is ridiculous. I'm calling campus security. She pulled out her phone, dialed. It rang 4 times, went to voicemail. She tried again. Same result. Marcus tried his phone. Same. The calls wouldn't connect, but they had signal. Full bars. Internet worked. Just the calls failed. Devontae walked to the window, looked down at the quad. The campus was dark, empty. A few lights in distant buildings. No security vehicles, no movement. It's like a ghost town, he said softly. The running above them intensified, faster, more frantic. And then a scream, clear, terrified. Female, cut off suddenly. Ashley's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God, someone's up there. Someone's hurt. We have to help. Marcus grabbed his keys, his phone. Come on. They ran into the hallway, to the stairwell. The door to the 5th floor had caution tape across it. Renovation. Do not enter. Marcus ripped it down, pushed the door open. The 5th floor was dark. Emergency lights provided minimal illumination, red exit signs casting everything in crimson. The air was thick with dust, with chemicals, paint thinner, varnish. Most of the doors were propped open. Inside, rooms gutted, floors torn up, walls stripped to studs. They moved slowly, quietly, listening. Nothing. No footsteps, no scraping, no screaming. "Hello," Ashley called out. "Campus safety, are you okay? Do you need help?" Her voice echoed down the empty corridor. No response. They checked every room, every closet, every bathroom. Found nothing. No people, no tools, no furniture to drag. Some rooms didn't even have floors, just exposed beams over empty space. "This doesn't make sense," Devante whispered. "We all heard it. We all heard someone running, someone screaming." "Maybe it came from outside," Marcus said. "Sound travels weird in empty buildings." They stood in the hallway, uncertain, and then they saw it at the far end of the hall. A door they hadn't noticed before, different from the others, older, the wood dark and scarred. No number, no nameplate, no caution tape, just a door that didn't match, that didn't belong. It was closed. They approached slowly. Marcus reached for the handle. It was cold, ice cold. He turned it. The door opened into darkness, complete and total. The emergency lights didn't penetrate it. Ashley pointed her phone flashlight inside. A room, small, unchanged by renovation. Old furniture, a bed, a desk, a chair, walls covered in paper, newspaper clippings, photographs, notes, all yellowed with age. Marcus stepped inside. The others followed. The door swung shut behind them. The temperature dropped 20 degrees instantly. Their breath fogged. Ashley's flashlight swept across the walls. The newspaper clippings were all the same story. Different papers, different dates, but the same story. November 22nd, 1983. Student dies in dorm fire. 5th floor of Whitmore Hall. Arson suspected. One victim, female, 19 years old, locked in her room. Couldn't escape. The photographs showed the aftermath. The charred door, the blackened walls, the investigation. Devante's voice shook. "This is Whitmore Hall. This is our building. The fire was here, on this floor." Ashley pointed her light at more photos, crime scene photos. Someone had collected them, organized them, studied them. But why? Who would? She stopped. One photo was different, recent, color, clear. It showed 3 people standing in this room, looking at these same walls. Ashley gasped. "It's us." The photo showed them. Devante, Marcus, Ashley, in this room, right now. Marcus grabbed the photo. "Impossible. This is impossible. We just got here. Who took this? When did?" The door handle rattled. They all spun around. The handle turned. The door opened slowly. A woman stood in the doorway, backlit by red emergency light. They couldn't see her face, just her silhouette. Long hair, thin frame. She spoke. Her voice was rough, damaged, like vocal cords scarred by smoke. "You shouldn't be here. This floor is closed." Ashley found her voice. "We heard someone screaming. We came to help." The woman stepped into the room. The flashlight caught her face. She was young, 19 maybe, pretty, but her skin was wrong, mottled, scarred, like healed burns covering most of her face and neck. Her clothes were dated, early 80s style. The woman smiled. It was not a kind smile. "You heard me. I scream every year, November 22nd, the anniversary. I run. I try to escape. I try to find the door, but I never make it. I never get out. The fire is always faster." She took another step toward them. The temperature dropped again. Frost formed on the walls, on the furniture, on the collected photographs. "Do you want to know what it feels like to burn alive, to breathe smoke until your lungs collapse, to feel your skin bubble and peel, to pound on a locked door while flames eat you alive. "Run!" Marcus shouted. They bolted past her, through the door, into the hallway. Behind them, the woman's laughter followed. Not cruel, sad, resigned. They ran for the stairwell, threw open the door, tumbled down the stairs, burst into their fourth-floor hallway, gasping, shaking. They looked back. The stairwell door was closed. Normal. No sound from above. No footsteps. No laughter. They stood there for 10 minutes, afraid to move, afraid to go back. Eventually, Ashley spoke. "We need to report this." Marcus shook his head. "Report what? That we broke into a closed floor, that we saw a ghost, that we found a room full of evidence that somehow included a photo of us that couldn't exist." They went back to Ashley's room, locked the door, pushed furniture against it, sat together until dawn. None of them slept. At first light, they packed, left the building. Marcus called his parents, picked him up that afternoon. Ashley stayed with a friend off campus. Devontae switched dorms when break ended. None of them went back to Whitmore Hall. But Marcus still has that photograph. He keeps it in a box under his bed. Sometimes he looks at it, at the three of them standing in that room, and he wonders who took it, when, and why. And in the background of the photo, barely visible in the shadows behind them, a fourth figure, standing, watching, waiting for next November 22nd, when she'll run again, and scream again, and burn again, forever trapped in her final moments, forever replaying the worst night of her death. Story 5 comes from a small farming community in Iowa, where the corn grows tall and the neighbors are few, where isolation isn't just geographical, it's existential. This is what happened to the Morrison family, November 1st through November 7th, 2017. The Morrisons had lived on their farm for 3 generations, 60 acres, corn and soybeans, a farmhouse built in 1952. Tom Morrison, his wife Ann, their 2 children, Emma and Jack, 8 and 6 years old. They were 20 minutes from the nearest town, 45 from the nearest hospital. In summer, this felt peaceful. In November, when the sun set before dinner and the wind howled across empty fields, it felt different. It felt vulnerable. November 1st, Tom was combining corn in the back 40. Ann was in the house making dinner. The kids were doing homework at the kitchen table. Normal evening, routine, until Emma looked out the window and asked a question. "Mom, who's that man standing in the corn?" Ann looked up. "What man, honey?" Emma pointed. "Out there, past the shed. There's a man just standing there." Ann walked to the window, looked out, saw nothing but rows of corn, dead stalks waiting to be harvested, shadows lengthening in the late afternoon light. "I don't see anyone, sweetheart," Emma insisted. "He's right there, tall, wearing black, just standing, not moving." Ann felt a chill. She called Tom on his cell. "Hey, are we expecting anyone? Any workers? Any neighbors?" Tom's voice crackled through static. "No." "Why?" Ann hesitated. Emma thinks she sees someone in the corn. Tom was quiet for a moment. "I'll come check." He drove the combine back to the barn, grabbed his shotgun from the house, more for show than threat, walked out to where Emma had pointed. Found nothing. No footprints in the soft dirt. No broken stalks. No sign anyone had been there. Tom came back inside. Nothing out there. Maybe it was a shadow, Em, or a scarecrow from one of the neighbors' fields. But Emma was certain it wasn't a shadow. It was a man, and he was looking at our house. That night, Jack woke screaming. Ann and Tom ran to his room. Jack was sitting up in bed, crying, pointing at the window. "There's a man outside. He's looking at me." Tom went to the window, drew back the curtain. Nothing but darkness and the bare branches of the oak tree. Buddy, there's nothing there. You had a nightmare. Jack sobbed. He was there. His face was against the glass. I saw him. Tom and Anne exchanged glances. Tom grabbed a flashlight, went outside, checked around Jack's window. The ground beneath was undisturbed. No footprints, no ladder marks. The window was on the second floor. No one could reach it without equipment. November 2nd. Tom found something while harvesting. In the section where Emma had claimed to see someone, a circle of corn stalks, flattened, arranged in a perfect ring about 8 feet in diameter, the stalks bent but not broken, woven together in an intricate pattern. Tom had farmed his entire life. He'd never seen anything like it. Could have been wind, he told Anne. Some kind of weather phenomenon. But he didn't believe it. Wind didn't weave. November 3rd. Anne was hanging laundry. She turned around to grab another sheet, turned back, and found a scarecrow standing 5 feet away. Except they didn't have a scarecrow. Had never had a scarecrow. This one was crude, made from corn stalks and burlap, wearing Tom's jacket, the one that had gone missing 2 weeks ago. Its face was a burlap sack, with holes cut for eyes and mouth. It faced the house. Anne called Tom. He came running. They both stared at the thing. Who would do this? Anne whispered. What kind of sick joke? Tom approached it slowly, touched it. It was just a scarecrow, inanimate, harmless, but something about it felt wrong. The way it leaned, the angle of its head, like it was listening. Tom tore it down, threw it in the burn pile. That night, Emma woke them. There's someone downstairs. Tom grabbed his shotgun, moved quietly down the stairs. Anne kept the children in the bedroom. Tom cleared every room, every closet, every space large enough to hide a person. Nothing. All doors locked from inside, all windows secure. But on the kitchen table, something new. A photograph, old, sepia-toned, showing a family, different people, different time. But the same house, the same farmhouse, the same porch, the same oak tree. Tom flipped it over. Written on the back in faded ink, Morrison Farm, November 1891, the Sullivan family. Tom's blood ran cold. He knew his family history. The Morrisons had bought this farm in 1952 from the bank. It had been abandoned for years before that, decades. But before the bank owned it, before it sat empty, the Sullivan family had lived here. Tom had never asked what happened to them, never cared, just history, just the past. Now he cared. November 4th, Tom went to the County Historical Society, asked about the Sullivans. The librarian found records, a newspaper article. November 7th, 1891, tragedy at Sullivan Farm. Entire family found dead. Mother, father, 3 children. Cause of death, unknown. No signs of violence, no signs of illness, just dead in their beds. The article mentioned one strange detail. The night before, neighbors reported seeing a figure in the corn, tall, dressed in black, standing motionless, watching the house. Tom drove home faster than he should have, told Anne everything. We're leaving, he said, tonight. We'll stay at a hotel. Come back during the day, pack properly, leave. Anne agreed immediately. They told the children to grab their favorite things, just what they needed. They'd come back later for the rest. It was 6:45 p.m. The sun had set. Darkness had fallen. They were loading the car when Tom realized Emma wasn't there. Tom, Anne, Jack, but no Emma. Anne called her name, ran back inside, checked her room, the bathroom, the kitchen. Emma, Emma, honey, where are you? Tom heard his daughter's voice, faint, distant, outside. He ran to the backyard. Emma stood at the edge of the corn, still in her pajamas, barefoot, staring into the field. Tom ran to her, grabbed her shoulders. Emma, what are you doing? We have to go, now. Emma didn't look at him, didn't blink, just stared. Her voice was flat. Wrong. monotone. He wants us to stay. The man in the corn. He says this is his house. He says we're not welcome. He says November 7th is coming. Tom picked her up. She felt cold, too cold. He ran back to the car. Anne was crying. Jack was crying. Tom put Emma in her seat, buckled her in, got in the driver's seat, started the engine. The headlights came on, illuminating the yard, the barn, the corn. And standing in front of the car, blocking their path, a figure, tall, impossibly tall, dressed in black, its face obscured by shadow, or perhaps it had no face at all, just darkness where features should be. Tom honked the horn, didn't move. Tom revved the engine, didn't move. Tom shifted into drive, prepared to go around it. The figure raised one arm, pointed at the house, and spoke. Tom couldn't explain how he heard the voice. It didn't come from the figure. It came from everywhere, from the car speakers, from inside his own head, from the air itself. November 7th. The voice was many voices, men, women, children, all speaking in unison. November 7th. Tom floored the accelerator. The car shot forward toward the figure. Through the figure, Tom felt resistance, like driving through deep water, cold, heavy, wrong. Then they were past, racing down the driveway, onto the county road. Tom didn't slow down until they reached town. They checked into a motel, called the police, told them what? What could they tell them? The police did a welfare check, found nothing. No figure, no threats, no danger, just an empty farm. The Morrisons never went back. They paid someone to pack their things, sold the farm, moved to Des Moines. Tom got a job at a hardware store. Anne became a teacher. They rebuilt their lives. But November still affects them. Emma doesn't speak about what happened, won't talk about it, won't acknowledge it. Every November 7th, she stays in bed all day, curtains drawn, door locked. Tom called the new owners once, a year after they'd sold, asked if they'd experienced anything unusual. The man laughed. No, farm's great, quiet, good land. Tom felt relief. Maybe it was over. Maybe whatever had been there had stayed. Maybe they'd just been stressed, paranoid, maybe. But last November, Tom saw something online, a news article, brief, barely noticed. November 7th, 2023, family found dead at rural Iowa farm. Morrison Farm Road, no signs of foul play. Investigation ongoing. Tom still has that article. And every November 1st, he starts counting down the days until the 7th, waiting, wondering, afraid that distance doesn't matter, that whatever walked in those cornfields remembers them, and one November it might come looking. We're halfway through. If you've ever experienced something like this, drop a comment below. Have you ever felt watched when you were alone? Let me know, because there are 4 more stories to tell, and they only get darker from here. Story 6 takes us to a retirement home in Florida, where the elderly are supposed to find peace, where families send their parents to live out their remaining years in comfort. But peace is not what they found. This is about Sunrise Gardens and November 12th, 2019. Nurse Maya Patel had worked at Sunrise Gardens for 4 years. She'd seen death before. It was part of the job, part of working with the elderly. You grew attached to residents. You celebrated their good days. You held their hands on bad days. And eventually you said goodbye. It was never easy, but it was natural, expected. What happened that November was neither. It started with room 14. Harold Chen, 87 years old, dementia patient, mostly nonverbal, gentle, harmless. Maya was doing her evening rounds when she heard him, talking, clear, lucid, more coherent than she'd heard him in months. She stopped outside his door, listened. Harold was having a conversation, but he was alone. Maya knocked gently, entered. Harold sat in his chair by the window. The curtains were open. Outside, November darkness pressed against the glass. He was looking at the empty chair across from him, smiling, nodding, speaking. "Is that right?" "Yes, I remember. It's been so long." Maya approached slowly. "Mr. Chen, who are you talking to?" Harold looked at her. His eyes were clear, sharp, more present than she'd seen in years. "My brother," he said simply. "David. He came to visit." Maya felt her skin prickle. Harold's brother had been dead for 20 years. She'd read his file. "That's nice," she said carefully. "But Harold, you're alone." Harold frowned. "No, he's right there." He pointed at the empty chair. "He says it's time to go." Maya tried to smile, made a note to check his medication, left the room, mentioned it to the night supervisor. Probably just confusion, hallucination, common with dementia. They adjusted his medication. November 13th. Harold Chen died peacefully in his sleep. Maya found him during morning rounds. Expected, natural. He was 87. He'd had a good life. But when Maya entered the room to prepare his body for the funeral home, she stopped. The empty chair, the one Harold had been talking to, it wasn't empty anymore. A coat hung over the back. Men's coat, old style. And on the seat, an indentation, like someone had been sitting there recently. Someone heavy enough to leave a mark in the cushion. Maya reported it, but no one had been in the room. The night shift confirmed it, locked after Harold's death. No visitors, no staff. The coat was donated, the chair sanitized. Room 14 was cleaned, prepared for the next resident. November 14th, room 22, Dorothy Walsh, 91, bedridden, rarely conscious. Maya was checking her vitals when Dorothy opened her eyes, grabbed Maya's wrist with surprising strength. "She's here," Dorothy whispered. "My sister, Rebecca. She says she's come to help me, to take me home." Maya gently removed Dorothy's hand. "That's a nice dream, Mrs. Walsh." Dorothy's grip tightened. "Not a dream. She's standing right there, behind you." Maya felt cold wash over her. She turned slowly. Nothing, just the empty room. Medical equipment, flowers from Dorothy's grandson. Nothing else. Dorothy smiled. "It's okay. I'm ready." She closed her eyes. Her breathing slowed, stopped. Maya called for help, but it was too late. Dorothy Walsh died at 2:17 p.m. Her sister Rebecca had died in 1989, November 15th. 3 more deaths, all natural, all expected given the residents' ages and conditions. But before each one, the same story. Visitors, dead relatives, coming to take them home. The staff began to whisper, to worry. Maya didn't believe in ghosts. She believed in science, medicine, but she couldn't deny the pattern. November 16th, room 8, George Martinez, 74, youngest resident on the floor, cancer patient, weeks to live at most. Maya found him sitting up in bed, fully alert, agitated. "Don't let her in," he said when Maya entered. "Tell her I'm not ready. Tell her to leave." "Who?" "Mr. Martinez, his wife. My Rosa. She's outside the door, but I'm not ready. I need more time." Maya checked the hallway. Empty. "Mr. Martinez, there's no one there." George pointed. "She's right there. Can't you see her? She's wearing her blue dress, the one I bought her for our anniversary. She's reaching for me." Maya saw nothing. George started crying. "I'm sorry, Rosa. I'm sorry I wasn't there when you needed me. I'm sorry He stopped mid-sentence. His eyes widened, focused on something Maya couldn't see, something that terrified him. "That's not Rosa." His voice dropped to a whisper. "That's not my wife. What are you? What?" He started screaming. Maya hit the call button. Staff came running. They sedated him. George Martinez died 2 hours later. Heart attack. Stress-induced. Natural causes. But that night, Maya couldn't sleep. She lay in bed thinking about George's final words. "That's not Rosa. What are you?" November 17th. Maya arrived for her shift early. She needed to check something. She accessed the resident files, looked at death records for the past 2 weeks. 12 residents had died since November 12th, all different ages, different conditions, different circumstances, but all had the same note in their final moments, reporting visits from deceased relatives, talking to empty rooms, reaching for invisible hands. Maya started cross-referencing. When had this started? She pulled records from previous months, October, September, August, normal death rates, expected numbers, no pattern. Then she checked November of previous years. Her blood turned cold. November 2018, 15 deaths, abnormal spike, all reporting visits from dead relatives. November 2017, 13 deaths, same pattern. November 2016, 14 deaths, same pattern. She went back further. The data was consistent. Every November, an unexplainable surge in deaths, all preceded by visions, by visitors who weren't there. Or Maya stopped herself. No, she was a nurse, a woman of science. This was coincidence, or something medical, something about November, seasonal affective disorder maybe, depression. But that didn't explain the visitors. That didn't explain the indentation in Harold Chen's chair, or the coat that appeared from nowhere. November 18th, Maya was walking past room 14. The door was open, cleaning staff preparing it for a new resident tomorrow. Maya glanced in, and her heart stopped. Someone was sitting in the chair by the window. A man, old, Asian, wearing a coat. He was looking out the window, motionless. Maya approached. "Excuse me, sir, you can't be in here. This room is..." The man turned, looked at her. His face was wrong, blurred, like looking at someone through water or smoke. His mouth moved, but the words came from everywhere, from inside Maya's head. "We come in November, when the veil is thin, when the dying are ready, we help them cross. But sometimes the living see us, and that's unfortunate for them." Maya backed away, tried to scream, couldn't. Her voice was frozen. The man stood, impossibly tall. His form wavered, shifted, like he wasn't entirely solid, entirely there. "You shouldn't see me," he said. "The living aren't meant to see us, but now you have, and now you know. We come every November. We've been coming for decades, for centuries. Wherever the dying gather, we help them, guide them. But we don't like being seen." Maya turned, ran down the hallway to the nurse's station. The supervisor looked up. "Maya, what's wrong? You're white as a..." Maya couldn't speak. She pointed. "Room 14. Someone in there. Someone who shouldn't." They checked. Together. 3 nurses, a security guard. The room was empty. No man, no coat, just the chair. And on the seat, an indentation. Maya quit that night, walked out, never came back. She works at a pediatric clinic now. Children, the young, the living. She avoids hospitals, avoids nursing homes, avoids anywhere the elderly gather to die, because she knows every November they come. The guides, the reapers, the things that help the dying cross. And if you work where death is common, if you're there in November, if you're sensitive, if you're unlucky, you might see them too. And once you've seen them, they know, they remember. And one day, when your time comes, when November finally comes for you, they'll be waiting. They'll remember you saw them, and they don't forget. Story 7 takes place in the Pacific Northwest, in the mountains, where the fog rolls in thick, and the trees stand ancient and tall, where hikers sometimes go missing, and sometimes they come back different. This is about the Anderson Trail and 3 friends who should have stayed home. November 26th, 2016. Kyle, Jen, and Marcus had been planning this trip for months. Post-Thanksgiving hike, work off the turkey, enjoy nature. The Anderson Trail was moderate difficulty, 8 miles round trip, beautiful views at the summit. They'd done harder hikes. This would be easy. They started at 9 a.m. The weather was clear, Cold, but not freezing. Perfect hiking weather. The trail wound through Douglas fir and western hemlock. The forest was quiet, peaceful. They made good time, reached the 4-mile mark by noon, decided to stop for lunch. They found a clearing, spread out their packs, ate sandwiches, drank water, took photos. That's when Kyle noticed it. A sound, like singing, faint, distant, coming from off trail. Do you guys hear that? Jen listened. I don't hear anything, just wind. Kyle stood up, walked toward the sound. It was definitely singing. Female voice, wordless melody, haunting, beautiful. Guys, there's someone out there. Maybe they're lost. Maybe they need help. Marcus grabbed his pack. Let's check it out. Stay together. They moved off trail, following the sound. It seemed to move, always just ahead of them, just out of sight. They pushed through underbrush, stepped over fallen logs. The singing grew louder, clearer. Then it stopped, suddenly, completely. They stood in a small depression, trees pressed close on all sides. The fog had rolled in while they walked, thick, gray, limiting visibility to maybe 20 feet. This is weird, Jen said. Where did it go? Kyle turned in a circle. Where are we? I don't remember which way we came from. Marcus pulled out his phone. Compass app. We'll just head east, back to the trail. But his phone screen flickered. The compass spun wildly, showing north in 3 different directions. Kyle checked his phone. Same problem. Jen's too. No GPS, no compass, no cell signal. Okay, Marcus said. Don't panic. We just backtrack. Follow our footprints. They looked down. The forest floor was covered in pine needles. No footprints. No broken branches to mark their path. No signs they'd passed this way at all. Jen's voice shook. This doesn't make sense. We literally just walked through here. How can there be no trail? The singing started again. Behind them, they spun around. A figure stood in the fog, 20 feet away. Female form, long hair, white dress, standing perfectly still. Hello, Kyle called. Are you okay? Do you need help? The figure didn't respond, didn't move. Excuse me, Jen tried. Can you hear us? We're a little lost. Could you point us toward the Anderson Trail? The figure tilted its head, slowly, too slowly, like a doll being manipulated. Then it raised one arm, pointed deeper into the forest, away from where they thought the trail should be. Marcus whispered, "Something's wrong. That's not right. We shouldn't go that way." The figure took a step toward them. Its movement was wrong, gliding, not walking, hovering inches above the ground. Kyle grabbed Jen's arm. Run! They ran, crashing through the underbrush, not caring about direction, just away, away from the figure, away from the singing, away from the wrongness. They ran until their lungs burned, until their legs screamed, until they couldn't run anymore. They stopped, gasping. The fog was thicker now, suffocating. They could barely see each other. "Where are we?" Jen sobbed. "Marcus, Kyle, what's happening?" Kyle's voice was hollow. "I don't know. He stopped, listened. The singing. It was all around them now, coming from every direction. Multiple voices, overlapping, harmonizing. And they saw them, figures in the fog, dozens of them, surrounding them, all in white, all standing perfectly still, all facing them. Jen screamed. The figures moved closer, gliding, converging. Marcus grabbed a rock, threw it at the nearest one. The rock passed through, no impact, no resistance, as if the figure was made of fog itself. "This isn't real," Kyle said. "This isn't happening. This is..." He stopped. One of the figures stood directly in front of him, close enough to touch. He could see her face now, young, pretty, but her eyes were empty, black, bottomless. She opened her mouth. The singing poured out, but her mouth opened too wide, impossibly wide, unhinging like a snake. Kyle stumbled backward, fell. The figure loomed over him, reached down. Her hand was cold, not skin, not solid, like touching smoke, like touching nothing. Kyle felt it pierce through him, into him, searching, pulling, trying to grab something inside his chest. Marcus tackled him, pulled him away, dragged him backward. The figure didn't follow, just watched. They all watched. The singing continued. Then, footsteps, real footsteps, human footsteps, a voice. "Hello? Is someone there?" I heard screaming. A man emerged from the fog, middle-aged, hiking gear, normal, real, solid. He looked at them. "You kids okay? You look terrified. What happened?" Marcus couldn't speak. Kyle was shaking. Jen found her voice. "The people, the singing. Did you see them? Did you hear them?" The man frowned. "People, you're the only ones I've seen all day. Come on, let's get you back to the trail. You're way off course." He led them through the fog, 5 minutes of walking, and there was the trail, right where it should be, marked, clear, familiar. The man handed them water, electrolyte tablets. "You're dehydrated, probably a little hypothermic. The cold and fog can play tricks on your mind, make you see things, hear things, but you're safe now. Just head back down, get warm, get home." He waved, continued up the trail, disappeared into the fog. They hiked down in silence, not speaking, not looking at each other. When they reached the parking lot, it was empty, except for their car and one other vehicle, an old park ranger truck with a memorial sticker on the window, in memory of Ranger David Hartley, 1952 to 2015. Kyle approached it, read the text below the sticker. Ranger Hartley disappeared on the Anderson Trail, November 26, 2015. Presumed dead, body never recovered. His truck remained at the trailhead, untouched. The three of them stood there, staring. November 26th, exactly 1 year ago. Marcus pulled out his phone, started searching. Anderson Trail disappearances. The results chilled him. 11 people had vanished on this trail over the past 40 years. All in November, all on foggy days. None ever found. Kyle looked at his hands, where the figure had touched him. His skin was pale, almost translucent. He felt cold, so cold, even sitting in the car with the heat blasting, even wrapped in blankets. The cold stayed with him. It's been 8 years. Kyle still feels it. That cold, that spot on his chest where something reached into him, tried to take something. He avoids fog, avoids forests, avoids November. Jen moved to Arizona. Desert, heat, no forest, no fog. Marcus became obsessed, researching, collecting stories, trying to understand what they saw. He found patterns, fog-related disappearances across the world. Always in November, always in forests, always people hearing singing, seeing figures in white. Some come back, changed, cold, hollow. Most don't come back at all. Marcus has a theory. Something exists in the fog, something ancient, something that hunts in November when the veil is thin and the living wander into liminal spaces, spaces between where reality blurs. He warns everyone he can. If you hike in November, if the fog rolls in, if you hear singing, don't follow it. Don't look for the source. Turn around. Go back. Get out while you still can. Because the figures in the fog, they're patient. They're always there, always waiting, always singing. And if they touch you, if they reach into you, if they mark you, part of you stays with them forever in the fog, in November, singing. Story 8 brings us to a suburban neighborhood, new development, young families, safe streets, perfect schools, the American dream, until the children started seeing him, the man in the window. This happened in Texas, November 2022, and it's still happening. Pinewood Estates was completed in March 2022. 40 houses, 2 cul-de-sacs, community pool, playground, everything young families wanted. The houses sold fast. By June, 37 were occupied. Kids filled the streets, riding bikes, playing tag. The neighborhood came alive. November started normally, weather cooling, decorations coming down from Halloween, Thanksgiving preparations beginning. Then 7-year-old Lily Zhang told her mother something disturbing. "There's a man watching us from the empty house." Her mother Yuki looked confused. "What empty house, honey?" "Number 40, Lily said. "The last house, the corner lot." That house had been on the market since April, still unsold. The builders had finished it, landscaped the yard, but no one had bought it. Price too high for the location, maybe. Yuki drove past it daily. Always dark, always empty. "Honey, that house is empty. No one lives there," Lily insisted. "There's a man in the upstairs window, the right one. He stands there and watches us play. He never moves, just watches." Yuki felt uneasy. She checked with other parents, asked if they'd noticed anyone at number 40. Everyone said no. The house was vacant, secured, no trespassers. 2 days later, another child mentioned it. 8-year-old Connor Mitchell. He told his father the same thing. Man in the window, never moving, just watching. Connor's father, Ray, was a police officer. He took it seriously. He drove to number 40, walked the perimeter, checked windows. Everything was locked. Security alarm active. He called the real estate agent. "Any showings recently?" "Any workers?" "No," the agent said. "House has been untouched for weeks. No one has the key codes except me and the builder." Ray documented it, made a report, increased his patrols of the area. 3 days later, 5 more children reported the same thing, all different ages, all seeing the same man, in the same window, always watching the playground. Parents started to worry. If it was a trespasser, he was invisible to adults. Security cameras showed nothing. The house remained dark, locked, undisturbed, but the children insisted. "He's there, every day. When we play outside, he watches us." Some parents stopped letting their kids play at the neighborhood playground. Others dismissed it. Overactive imaginations, kids influencing each other, creating a shared delusion. But then the children started describing him. Tall, thin, pale skin, dark eyes, wearing a suit, old-fashioned, never smiling, never moving, just watching. And every child described him exactly the same way. November 18th, Lily Zhang didn't come home after school. Her bus dropped her off at the usual time, 3:30 p.m. Other parents saw her walking home, saw her reach her driveway. Then, nothing. She disappeared. Yuki called police. The neighborhood mobilized. Search parties, Amber Alert, news coverage. They searched every house, every yard, every vehicle. Nothing. Lily was gone. The police interviewed children, asked about the man in the window. Did he ever speak to her, ever approach? The kids said no. He just watched. He never left the window. Police searched number 40 again, thoroughly. Forensics, K9 units, every room, every closet, every crawl space, found nothing. No evidence anyone had ever been inside since construction. November 19th, Lily came back. She was found sitting on her front porch at 6 a.m., alive, unharmed, wearing the same clothes as when she disappeared. No memory of where she'd been, what happened, who took her. Medical examination showed nothing. No injuries, no drugs, no signs of trauma, just missing time. 17 hours gone. Lily couldn't explain it, or wouldn't. She stopped talking about the man in the window, stopped playing outside, became quiet, withdrawn. Her parents took her to therapists, doctors. No one could help. The other children changed too. They stopped mentioning the man. When adults asked, They'd say they made it up. It was just a game, a story. But parents noticed them staring at number 40, noticed them taking longer routes to avoid walking past it, noticed them flinching when they saw that upstairs window. November 22nd, another child went missing. Connor Mitchell, home from school, playing in his backyard. His father went inside to grab a drink. 2 minutes, maybe 3. When he came back, Connor was gone. Ray Mitchell tore the neighborhood apart, used every resource, every connection, every favor he had, found his son 6 hours later, sitting on the curb, 2 blocks from home, staring at nothing. No memory, no explanation. That night, Ray sat in his car across from number 40, watching, waiting, determined to catch whoever was doing this. He sat there from dusk until dawn, never looked away, never saw anyone approach, never saw lights, never saw movement. But at 3:47 a.m., his dash cam captured something. For exactly 4 seconds, a figure appeared in the upstairs right window, tall, thin, pale, wearing a suit, staring directly at Ray's car. Then it vanished. Ray checked the footage 20 times. The figure was there, clear, undeniable, not a reflection, not a trick of light, solid, present, watching. Ray showed the footage to the department, to the FBI, to everyone who would listen. They couldn't explain it. The house remained locked, alarmed, unbreached. But something was there, something that appeared, watched, and took children. Only children, never adults. The neighborhood fractured. Half the families moved out, took losses on their houses just to leave. The other half stayed, nowhere else to go. Financial obligations, but they kept their children inside, especially in November. Number 40 remains unsold. The price has dropped 3 times. No one will buy it. The real estate agent won't show it anymore. The builder company dissolved, quietly, no explanations. Lily Jeng is 13 now. She still lives in Pinewood Estates. She still doesn't talk about those 17 hours, but sometimes, late at night, her mother hears her crying, hears her saying the same thing over and over. He showed me where he lives. He showed me the others, the ones who never came back, the ones who are still there, in the spaces between the walls, in the darkness behind the windows, waiting, watching, forever. Yuki asked her once, "Baby, what do you mean? What others?" Lily looked at her mother, tears streaming. "All the children, Mommy, from all the Novembers, going back so far. He collects them, keeps them. They're still there, still watching, trapped in the empty houses, forever." Yuki moved them out the next week, but Lily's words haunt her. The children from all the Novembers. She started researching, found that the lot where number 40 stands had a history. In 1983, a house burned down there. 1 child died. November. In 1957, a family lived there. Their daughter vanished. November. In 1934, before development, when it was just farmland, a child went missing in those fields. November. The pattern stretches back, decade after decade. Always November, always children, always that location, that specific piece of land. Something is there, something that exists in the empty spaces, in the unsold houses, in the waiting dark, and it's hungry. If you're hearing this, if you live in a new development, if there's an empty house on your street, if your children mention someone watching from the window, someone who's there when they look, but gone when you do, believe them, get them away, get them far. Because the man in the window doesn't just watch, he waits, he chooses, and when November comes, he takes, and what he takes, he keeps forever. We're almost done. Just one more story, the darkest one, the one that happened closest to now. Drop a like if you made it this far. And remember, November isn't over yet. Story 9, the final story. This one is personal. This happened to someone I knew, Someone who reached out to this channel, who shared her experience, who wanted others to know, to be warned. Her name was Rachel. This is her story, November 2023, 1 year ago. Rachel was a documentary filmmaker. She specialized in abandoned places, forgotten history. She'd explored hundreds of locations, asylums, prisons, hotels. She knew how to handle fear, how to separate atmosphere from actual danger, how to stay safe. November 13th, 2023, she received a tip, an abandoned tuberculosis sanatorium, 2 hours outside Seattle, closed in 1962, left to decay, perfect for her next project. She drove up alone, against her usual protocol, but time was limited. Daylight was short. November days died fast. The sanatorium sat on a hill, 5 stories, brick and decay, windows like dead eyes. She arrived at 2 p.m., gave herself 3 hours, enough time to scout, take preliminary footage, plan a proper shoot with crew and equipment. She entered through a broken window on the ground floor. The interior was devastation. Peeling paint, collapsed ceilings, graffiti, evidence of transience. Typical. Nothing unusual. She worked methodically, filming each floor, making notes. The 3rd floor was where the children's ward had been. Rachel always felt strange in children's areas. The small beds, the toys left behind, the evidence of young lives cut short. She was filming a room full of rusted cribs when her camera died. Battery fully charged when she entered, now dead. She tried her backup. Same thing. Immediate death. Okay, Rachel thought. Electromagnetic interference happens in old buildings. Bad wiring. Residual current. She'd investigate later. She pulled out her phone. Document with photos instead. The phone screen showed 3:47 p.m. Later than she thought. The light outside was dying. She'd been inside longer than planned. Time to leave. She turned toward the door. A child stood there. Girl, maybe 7. Hospital gown, dark hair, pale skin, staring. Rachel's heart stopped, then restarted, hard, fast. Hey, she said. Hey, sweetie, are you okay? Are you lost? The child didn't respond, didn't blink. Rachel approached slowly. Honey, where are your parents? How did you get in here? This place isn't safe. The child tilted her head, spoke. Her voice was wrong. Too old. Too many voices. You can see me. Rachel stopped walking. What? The child smiled. Most can't. Most just feel cold, feel watched, feel afraid, but don't see. You're special. Rachel's hands shook. I think you should come with me. Let's find your parents. Let's get you safe. The child laughed. The sound echoed, multiplied, filled the room, the hallway, the entire floor. I am safe. I'm home. This is where I belong, where I died. November 14th, 1959. Tuberculosis. In this room, in that crib. She pointed. The second one. That's where I took my last breath, where I screamed for my mother, where I died alone. Rachel backed toward the door. The child matched her movement. You can see us. That means you're close, close to joining us. The thin places are thinning more. November makes them permeable. And you walked right in. Rachel ran down the hallway toward the stairs. Behind her, that laughter, growing, spreading, joined by others. More children, more voices, more footsteps, small feet, running, chasing. Rachel hit the stairs, took them 2 at a time. 2nd floor, 1st floor. The ground floor hallway was dark, too dark. It had been daylight when she arrived. Now it was night. How? She ran for the broken window. Her exit, it was boarded up, sealed. Rachel slammed into the plywood, pounded. This wasn't here. This wasn't. You can't leave. A voice behind her, adult voice, female. Once you're seen, once you're marked. November keeps you. Rachel spun around. A woman stood in the hallway. Nurse uniform, 1960s style. She wasn't solid, wasn't quite there, transparent, flickering, like bad reception. The nurse smiled sadly. "I'm sorry. I tried to help them, all of them, the children, the patients, but the disease was faster. November was colder. They died anyway. And now we're all here, together, forever, waiting for November, when the living come close enough to see." She reached for Rachel. "This will be quick, painless, like falling asleep, like breathing out and never breathing in. Just let go. Just..." Rachel grabbed a piece of rebar from the debris, swung it. The metal passed through the nurse, no resistance, hitting nothing but air. The nurse kept coming. Rachel ran deeper into the building, away from the exits, away from the light. Stupid, wrong, but panic overrode logic. She found a room, slammed the door, shoved debris against it, pulled out her phone. No signal, no bars. Emergency calls only. She tried. The call connected, rang twice. A voice answered, 911, "What's your emergency?" Rachel sobbed. "I'm trapped. Abandoned sanatorium. Route 39. Please, send help. Please." The operator's voice changed, became wrong, became familiar, became childlike. "You can't call out. You're in our space now, our November, our forever." Rachel screamed. Through the phone, it shattered against the wall. Silence, complete, oppressive. Then, footsteps outside the door, many footsteps, and singing. The same lullaby Sarah Chen had heard. The same lullaby that echoed through all these stories, all these Novembers, all these spaces between. The doorknob turned. Rachel watched, unable to move, unable to breathe. The door opened. They filled the doorway. Children, patients, nurses, doctors, all translucent, all watching her, all reaching. "Welcome," they said in unison. "Welcome to November." Rachel's phone records showed her last call at 4:23 p.m., November 13th. Emergency services dispatched to her location, found her car, found the sanatorium, searched for 6 hours, never found Rachel. She disappeared completely. Her equipment was found. Camera, backup camera, phone, all dead, all showing the same timestamp, 3:47 p.m. Her footage was recovered, enhanced, analyzed. The last frame showed something. In the background, behind Rachel, multiple figures, watching, reaching, and in the very center, Rachel herself, transparent, flickering, like she was already becoming one of them. 1 year later, November 13th, 2024, someone else explored that sanatorium, posted their experience online. They saw someone, a woman, filming with a camera that didn't work, wearing clothes from a year ago. When they called out to her, she looked up, stared, said nothing, just raised one finger to her lips and smiled. That same sad smile, the smile of someone who knows, someone who's trapped, someone who exists in November now, forever, waiting, warning, watching as others make the same mistake. These are the 9 stories, 9 Novembers, 9 warnings. The cold came early this year, and it brought something with it. Something old, something patient, something that waits in the spaces between, in the abandoned places, in the empty houses, in the fog, in the darkness, in November, when the veil grows thin, when the living wander too close, when we forget that some doors shouldn't be opened, some sounds shouldn't be followed, some figures shouldn't be seen. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. Hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel, because every story leaves a shadow, and November casts the longest shadows of all. Stay safe out there. Keep your doors locked. Keep your lights on. And if you hear singing, if you see figures in the fog, if someone watches from empty windows, don't investigate. Don't approach. Don't engage. Just walk away, because November remembers, November watches, and November never forgets. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay skeptical, but most importantly, stay alive.